Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 36th annual Kansas Fest. Thank you for joining the celebration of the Apple II. I'd like to kick things off for us. First of all, I want to thank everyone joining us, everyone for sharing their passion for the Apple II, the unique projects, the history, the stories, the people, the software, the documentation, everything that we're going to hear about over the next couple of days, and also everything we don't hear about. Everyone here, whether or not you're on the session schedule, has a story about the Apple II. Take a moment, talk to people in our Discord channel, figure out what their story is. What motivates each of you to take a weekend out of your year to talk about the Apple II? I know I came to Kansas Fest years ago for the Apple II, but stayed for the people and the brilliant, engaging ideas that I uniquely find in this community. A few introductory slides to share, but then we'll get into the real content. Right now, we have 176 people registered. That was at least as of an hour ago. People could continue registering. And we represent a group of people from around the globe. I wonder, what is everyone's story? And why don't we have anyone from Greenland yet? But let me introduce the people who are organizing this. First, Chris, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Peter. So I'm Chris Torrance, and I've been coming to Kansas Fest since I think 2015, and I've been on the committee for about the last 4 years. And I have a retro computer YouTube channel as well as a store where you can buy all sorts of fun t-shirts and other goodies. And I'm just really happy to be here for Kansas Fest 2025. And just one note, there's still, I think, 22 hours left in HackFest 2025. So if you suddenly think of a project, feel free to head over to the HackFest Discord channel. There's lots of notes there about how to enter and what the rules are. So don't forget about that. And now I will hand it over to Ron.
Hey, everybody. It's Ron McAdams from Ron's Computer Videos. I am just doing my part here at the bowels of the ship this year, helping with the stream. I want to thank everybody on the committee, both currently and past members and future members, for all of their contributions for keeping this event going. My first time attending in person, I think, would have been 2022. Was that the year back after the pandemic? But I attended the two virtual KFESTs. The dream seemed so far away because I was like, I don't know, I can't take a week off work to come and do this. But I think for a lot of people, the pandemic sort of changed a lot of people's focus and priorities. And I thought, I got to get out and do some of these great things. And so watching the event online made me realize that there is a really awesome community that has came up around this event. And I went and I had an amazing time, and I went back the next year, and I went back the next year, and I'm back again this year. So thank you to everybody. And I will pass to Jay.
Hi, everybody. I am Jay Graham. I am probably the newest committee member and board member here. I actually started coming to Kansas Fest in 2013 when Woz and Randy Wigginton were there, and it was like, wow, this is going to be a great conference, with Woz showing up. So I recently retired from semi-retired from the University of Pittsburgh. I'm still teaching 2 classes there, but I retired after 40 years. And as a result, I asked Chris and others if I can be part of the committee, and I am looking forward to Kansas Fest 2025 and beyond. And it's going to be, if you looked at the schedule, I would look at the schedule because it is going to be an exciting 2 days and back to back. And with that, I'll turn it over to Martin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks all for joining and being here to share these these good times about technologies past and present on the Apple II platform. I've been working with the machine since 1980 as a schoolboy. Took a very long break, and got back into the hobby in 2003 when I, for some weird reason, decided to go and buy an Apple IIe off of eBay. Having just moved into a new house, obviously it has to come before the furniture. And I think in 2005, probably, I joined the KansasFest mailing list once I discovered that the thing existed, and was a long-time lurker. Actually got myself to the event finally in 2018, and in 2023, I was invited to assist on the committee. So I'm still pretty new, but a little longer in the job than Jay. And looking forward to an exciting weekend. I think we got some terrific sessions coming up. There's stuff for people with less knowledge about the platform, as well as some extremely technical topics. So hopefully there's something for everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's time. All the volunteers are making this possible, and everyone organizing this is a volunteer. We're doing this because we love the community. We love the possibilities that KansasFest represents. I do want to put everyone on the spot, though. This is unscripted and giving everyone a heads up. I want to ask everyone here, what is one thing within reach that's related to the Apple II? And why is that taking up prime real estate on your desk? I'll also open this up to the people online. Post over in Discord, and we can copy some of those over into YouTube as well, so everyone can see.
I have a pillow. So if you don't know, at the in-person KansasFest, we usually have two different parts of the dormitory. So there's one part for the noisy people that like to stay up all night and party on the Apple II, and then another part for the people that actually like to get some sleep. I typically actually stay in the quiet section, but we thought it would be fun to just take the signs and turn them into a pillow. And shameless plug, you can actually order these on the KansasFest.org website if you want to have your own noisy, quiet pillow.
Well, for me, Peter, the reason why it takes up room on my desk is because it's the last computer I ever understood exactly how it works. And so I'm not into playing a whole lot of games and stuff. I just really like tinkering around with the internals and putting it through its paces and plugging interesting new bits of hardware into it and putting them through their paces. And nothing useful. I just like thinking about it.
Which model do you have on your desk?
It's a 2C at the moment. I never had a 2C back in the 20th century, but I've become a huge fan recently.
Well, the two things that I have, Peter, are back on the shelf there. I have my original Disc 2 that was signed by Woz and Randy Wigington when I attended in 2013. So that's in a case back there. And then over my, I guess, left shoulder here, I have my Beagle Brothers posters that are on the wall behind me, along with some Apple patent artwork. I met somebody that did patent artwork, and they took some pictures of my Apple II and my iMac and my Apple IIc, and those are my devices in the patent artwork on the wall there.
Ron, do you have something?
Yeah, I do. I reached for it. I just didn't want to speak over. But I actually, the opposite of Martin. I have some games because I loved gaming on like computer. We didn't own an Apple II until much later, and my parents got a 2GS. But still, I love games like Prince of Persia and Swashbuckler, and it's slightly too far away, or I'd get my karateka or disc and show you, but it's so great and it's nostalgic, and it doesn't take up a lot of space if you keep a 2C or 2C plus out all the time to test things. But I will say that the one that kind of spends the most time out, because it's the one that was at like the one from my house, was like the 2GS. So that's the one that I kind of leave out all the time to play around with.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. For me, it's an applesauce because it gives me access to the software I never had, and it gives me opportunity to share some of the software with my kids. Just over the weekend, my daughter came to me and wanted to play Sticky Bear Typing. That's what the applesauce made for me. I have a lot of posts over on Discord, including a copy of Where in North Dakota is Carmen Sandiego. I had no idea that existed. I'd love to hear the story of that.
It's probably stopping at a lot of truck stops asking for directions.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, I always enjoy learning something new, things that I had no idea about. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for bearing with me as we go through something unscripted. But again, it's about the people and the connections and the stories.
Oh, and by the way, the main Discord channel for this evening is called Classic Rewind. It's you should find that at the top of the 2025 sessions list. That's where
Thanks for the reminder.
That's where the conversation is taking place tonight, primarily, unless it's on a specific topic. If we leave Dorm Lobby alone, it might cool off and dry out a bit.
Check out our schedule. It's on our website, several different formats. It's available through Google Calendar. The schedule should be up to date. I don't expect any changes, but if there are changes, we'll announce them here, and we will also update our website. Join Discord. If you're not already there, that is the place to be. All questions through presentations need to go in the presentation-specific Discord channel, and then our moderators will copy those over to YouTube and share those with the presenters. If you're posting questions over in YouTube, it will most likely get overlooked, and it certainly won't be archived. Every day, we'll send a welcome email. It should repeat the same information you have. First thing will be the daily stream link. Every day, the stream link will be different. That email also includes the Discord invitation if you haven't gotten it. So attendees will join us on YouTube live stream, questions in Discord. Presenters will have one extra step. Presenters will join us through our streaming platform called StreamYard, and presenters should have a separate private StreamYard link. If you don't, let us know. Please plan to join StreamYard about 15 minutes prior to your scheduled presentation time. You'll show up in the backstage, make sure everything's ready, and then we'll bring you onto the stream when it's time to talk. Anything I missed there? So for tonight, we have what we call Classic Rewind. It's a selection of past sessions, including several that have never before been published, to the best of my knowledge. This is an opportunity to see and relive some of that history. Some of these you've seen, some of these you haven't. Some represent the stories, some are deeply technical topics. I think we have a pretty good mix. The KansasFest Code of Conduct applies to all of our forums, YouTube chat, Discord, email. Keep in mind that we all come from around the world. We have different experiences, different expectations. Please be mindful and respectful when you're starting discussions. And if there's a mistake, that's fine. Apologize. If you have problems, reach out to our moderators. We can help you. This is meant to be a constructive environment that brings us together for one single shared purpose, really the Apple II. If you have questions, Discord's the best way to reach all of us. We're all on Discord. We're monitoring all the channels and also monitoring direct messages. If that doesn't work, you can join our email list. And you can also, there's also a form on our website at the contact URL. You can send us an anonymous message. If you have trouble, technical or otherwise, let us know. We'll step in and help. If we don't know about a problem, we cannot help. Chris already mentioned HackFest. That channel has already seen some more messages even as we've been talking. I know for me, HackFest always has a special place because I particularly enjoyed HackFest the first year I came to KansasFest and discovered a tool called Macrosoft, which is a obscure macro assembler, but I enjoyed it. Chris, do you want to remind us about pins?
Yeah, so if you recall, for some of the past virtual Kansas Fest, we had like a goodie package for people, and we want to do the same thing this year. So we're planning on having a item in our store. It'll have some pins in it, along with stickers, and we're going to. The plan is to have that on the store for something like $5, but then we'll have a coupon code for all of the Kansas Fest registered attendees, so you can get $5 off, and so you only have to pay for shipping. If you'll note, in the past for the other virtual Kansas Fest, we actually offered free shipping, but just as a note, given the increases in the post office rates, just actually over the last 3 days, it wasn't economical for us to do that, so you just have to pay for postage to wherever you live.
We also have custom commissioned artwork this year from Jordan Graham. This artwork is available on t-shirts and other things in our store. So please, if you have a chance to meet her, please thank her for that work. I think there's an important message here. We're all volunteer driven. If you have something that you're passionate about, if you see a problem, you want to make something better, let us know. I'm happy to hand those reins over to someone else to improve KansasFest, to keep this going. That's really how KansasFest has continued, with people who are passionate, picking things up, moving things forward. What else is there? Chris, Ron, Jay, Martin.
I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been so welcoming and so willing to listen to feedback and willing to work together to make this year's event possible. I want to brag on the artist of this year's artwork. I think it's really good. I think it's a fun idea. And it came together really, really well and really quickly. So Jay, be sure, slip the artist an extra $20, just whatever's in your wallet is fine.
I already bought her lunch, and if she's here, she's working tonight, but if she's here tomorrow, I'll try to get her on camera for a minute or two. Let her introduce herself. I have the original artwork within arm's reach too. It's downstairs, so I was going to frame it and put it back there.
And some of the videos we have for tonight's Classic Rewind look like they were originally on VHS and then digitized and transcoded, because they were, but that's the only way we're going to get the history from 1998, for example. And we have a series of selected videos. We'll take breaks between them. Please continue the discussion in the Classic Rewind channel, and during those breaks, we'll come back on camera. We'll share some of our ideas, some of the topics that came up during the discussions on Discord. Is there anything else? I think we're ready to move on to the Classic Rewind.
Okay. Very cool. Actually, I'll ask an unscripted question. What event, what session are you looking forward to this year? Everybody has had access to the schedule for a couple of days now, hopefully, and has been able to kind of peruse and figure out what it is you like. I'd love to see what people are interested in seeing, both in the chat and anybody in here that wants to chime in with what session they've been looking forward to, even if it's your own.
Well, For me, I'm actually looking forward to John Conrad's talk on Sunday morning. So he was one of our invited speakers this year, and he has a long history with the Apple II going back about 50 years. He was originally a programmer on the Apple II and released some educational software titles, and then kind of took a long break from the Apple II, went off and became a professor of physics for many, many years, and then just came back just a couple of years ago and started programming again. And he's now creating hardware joystick controllers for the Apple II. And so he's going to tell us all about that on Sunday morning.
That's awesome.
I'm looking forward to Pitar's on tomorrow at 10:15, the Apple II GS release day dealer display, because we don't often get to see a lot of this stuff, because it's so hard to get with all of the dealer stuff. I ran into an old dealer about 2 or 3 years ago, and they sold a lot of their stuff, but they had the flag, the hooked rug, and all of that stuff. So I'm looking forward really to that one, to see some of the retro dealer display stuff.
It's really hard for me to choose. I enjoy some of the hardware. I enjoy the software presentations as well. I'm looking forward to learning more about the A2 FPGA, but I'm also really looking forward to Dan Brickman's presentation on his history, his VisiCalc, and the story of his journey through computing and how it intersected with the Apple II. I have no idea what that is, but I'm curious.
I was there. It's pretty great.
Me too. It was really cool.
Can't wait. But I only have
I
to
think
wait
it's
less than a day.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd have to say the same as you, Peter. Just the stories from the lives and the careers of the luminaries of the industry back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I think it's just hearing those stories that are the absolute highlight of every KansasFest for me.
Oh, it's probably obvious. Although the sessions tonight are historic, all the sessions Saturday and Sunday are original, never before seen or heard. All of these will also be recorded and made available on YouTube sometime after the event. So if you miss something, it's not lost.
I'm going to say, sorry, I had to fix that. I'm going to say that I'm looking forward to Peter's presentation about packet radio, because I got a sneak peek of it the other day, and yeah, it's pretty neat. I'm looking forward to seeing the full story behind that.
They're all good. I'm excited for all of them.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
I think we're ready to kick off the first Classic Rewind. Do you know about how long it is, Ron?
I think the first session is 30 minutes or something like that. The first video is 30 minutes. I can tell you exactly how long it is, but it would probably take me longer to look it up than to just watch it. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Let me look.
And we'll be back on screen in about half an hour.
Other than people who picked up stuff from other companies and they went broke, and buy a lot. I'm in room 410. You can buy it now. In fact. Thank you.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, I've seen that before.
When you wore a younger man's clothes, right?
Yeah, I'm attending KansasFest obviously, and I heard about this Classic Rewind. At first, I thought, whatever they're going to show, I've seen it before, so I'll just skip it. But then I decided, everybody else is there. I don't want to miss out. So I tuned in, and what should they start playing but the keynote from my very first Kansas Fest. I didn't know you were going to be playing that, and you didn't know I was going to be in the audience, and Chris just texted me and said, hey, do you want to come on the chat and talk about that Kansas Fest that we just showed? And I said, what little I remember, sure. In fact, at the end of the video, as that was panning across the audience, there was a shot of me. I looked a little. That was my first time trying to grow a beard in that video. So for context, I was 19 years old at Kansas Fest 1998. I was the youngest unchaperoned attendee in attendance and would remain so for about 12 years. And that was my first time meeting everybody that I knew from Genie, CompuServe, and Delphi. But it was also my last time seeing Mike Westerfield, who gave that keynote, for another 24 years. And so for context, he was 43 years old in the video you just watched. And the next time I saw him, I was 43 years old, which felt very strange. But my first Kansas Fest was amazing to put all the faces and voices to the celebrities that I've been chatting with online in these plain text interfaces before we had StreamYard and Discord and Zoom and YouTube and Slack. Mike was an amazing person to meet, and the impact he had on Apple II software development cannot be understated. The software that he talked about, Orca and Merlin and everything else that he had a hand in, was just phenomenal. He mentioned his wife Patty recommended getting an Apple II because it had a colorful logo. She also ran the business side of ByteWorks and pretty much still does to this day. So she's contributed so much more than just an aesthetic for logos. The two of them were and still are a powerhouse of software development. I specifically remember toward the end of that talk, I didn't have the opportunity to rewind it just now on YouTube to make sure I heard it right, but I thought he said business is better now than it was in the heyday of the Apple II. And when I was in the and that was in 1998, and I was in the audience as a 19-year-old, I was like, wait a minute, the Apple II was discontinued 5 years ago. How can that be? And I end up Saturday night going out to dinner with him, and I was like, did I understand you correctly that somehow things are better now than they ever have been? And he's like, oh, no, absolutely not. So either he misspoke or I misheard. Again, I didn't get a chance just now to rewind it. But I think he was saying that his business, not his Apple II business, but just the ByteWorks, which went on to continue to do a variety of things. Many years later, iOS apps, for example, publishing books, etc. I think he was referring to that, saying that overall his business has been good. And
Chris, was it possible that it was just based on hoping people came by his room at the event? that 90% off is going to bring him in.
and he mentioned that he was releasing GSoft Basic that very week, and that was the week that it debuted. And we had Hackfest even back then. It was my first KFest, so it was my first Hackfest too. And I was like, I'm going to write an entry for Hackfest in GSoft Basic. And writing a Hackfest entry in the constraints of Kansas Fest is already challenging. Doing it while learning a new language is also challenging. So I had nothing to show for it, or not nothing. I didn't have a complete program at the end, but I think I came in second or third just for the chutzpah of trying to write something in a new language. I had just finished my first year as a computer science major, and I remember at one point, two interesting exchanges I remember with Mike on that Hackfest. One was I was asking him how to do something, and he said, have you ever heard of recursion? And it was a sincere question, but I felt so condescended to because I had just finished a year of computer science studies, and I was like, yes, Mike, I've heard of recursion. And he's like, oh sorry, I didn't know. And but also there was something else that I was trying to do, and I showed it to him. I was like, Mike, why can't I'm looking at the code. I know this is new to me, but I feel like it should work. Why isn't it working? And he sat there for about a minute and looked at it, and he's like, that's a bug. And I said, in my code? He said, no, in the language. And so like he went to his room and came back half an hour later with a floppy disk and said, here's GSoft Basic version 1.0.1. And I installed it and it worked. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, at the time I was a freelance writer for a small newspaper in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and I went home and I wrote a big feature story about my first KansasFest. This was before I was writing for JuiceGS. And I said, like, this is like going to a convention, telling Bill Gates you found a bug in Windows and having him give you a new version of Windows. You know, like that just wouldn't happen. But in the Apple II community, where everything is small and intimate and collaborative, these things do happen. And it was just a phenomenal experience to have that at my first KansasFest, where these people who I saw as celebrities are just regular folks putting code out and working with you to get it working right.
Ken, can I ask you a question? It looked like when they were panning over the audience, and I need to go back and look at it again, but it looked like there were several people that I recognized, including possibly Margaret Anderson. Do you remember anyone who was there that you kept in touch with over the years, other than obviously Mike, but anybody else that you can recall?
Yeah, many people. So I saw in the YouTube chat actually for the live stream was Eric Shepard. He was in attendance and he proved to be a keynote speaker a couple of times in the ensuing years. In fact, I'll be having dinner with him next week. So that is definitely somebody I've kept in touch with very closely. Margaret Anderson was in the audience, as was Jim O'Reilly. Cindy Adams was the MC who introduced Mike Westerfield, and I've kept in touch with her. And last time I saw her was 2.5 years ago. I was driving from San Diego to Boston, and I passed through Phoenix, where she lives, and I got dinner with her and her husband, Mike. I definitely heard Ryan Suinaga's voice. He has a very distinctive laugh, and it was great to hear it again on that video tonight. He passed away back in 2011, but I kept in frequent touch with him up until then. Greg Nelson was in the audience. He's still a KansasFest regular. I believe he's attended every single one to some degree, and he used to show up every year with his VHS big cassette recorder and record every session before there was live streaming or anything. Yeah, there were a lot of people who showed up that year and have continued to show up. I saw Carl Knobloch in the front row sitting down in the audience. He hasn't been to KansasFest for a while, but he used to run the Pike Up and Drop Off service, coordinating shuttle rides for people to get from the airport to Avila, where that event was held back then, and then Rockhurst in the later years. So yeah, I would say I've kept in touch with quite a few people, either in person or via text message, or sometimes just saying, thanks for renewing your JuiceGS subscription. Glad you're still around.
Cool. And then if I can ask one more question, just 1998 compared to, let's say 2024, which was the most recent in-person, differences or similarities between the two events, things that have either changed or remain the same that you can think of?
Yeah, well, tangential to that, I want to shout out a comment in Discord from Jonathan FS. He said, Mike's talk was filmed in 1998, and he was talking about things that happened in the 15 to 20 years prior. To me, computing feels like it changed more from 1979 to 1998 than from 2006 to 2025. Yeah. You know, those are two different spans of 20 years or so. And I absolutely agree with them. I feel like computing in general, you know, we certainly have like faster internet. You know, Netflix doesn't come in the mail anymore, and now we have AI. But I feel like just like the way you interact with computers has changed so much in the 80s compared to in the last few years. The Apple II, of course, has also grown in that time, but not in a way that you don't recognize it anymore. So there's still a lot that's familiar about the Apple II. I think your question was specifically about KansasFest, though.
Sure.
So I would say a lot of it is the same. You know, KansasFest, that I've been to KansasFest at 3 different physical venues: Avila, Rockhurst, and UIS in Illinois. They each had their own character. Just the way the spaces are laid out, the way you would interact, and which facilitated interactions with people Like Avila would have tunnels that you could go down through to get to the cafeteria, so you wouldn't have to go outside in the sun or in the rain. We were still using dial-up modems at Rockhurst or at Avila, and in fact, some people may have noticed that old school elevators, they would have a phone jack in them. Then that's where you put the emergency phone, and you could just plug in a modem into the elevator. And so I remember there was this, I think it was Mike Westerfield wrote to Juice GS a few years ago in a letter to the editor. And he said like how he showed up to his first Kansas Fest and he wasn't sure he was in the right place. And he pushed the button for the elevator and the doors open. And there are like 3 guys sitting in the elevator with a laptop connected to the modem. And they're just riding the floors up and down and reporting on what they see live at Kansas Fest in the text chat room every time the doors open. And Mike was like, yep, I'm in the right space.
I will say 2024 in terms of proximity to cornfields.
It's true.
Yeah.
We've definitely improved in that respect.
Yes.
But every year Kansas Fest is held when it is held in person at a university. People stay in the dorms. They eat at the cafeteria. So the overall vibe of the event in that sense has remained remarkably similar, and that's one of the reasons why I've been to Kansas Fest every year since 1998. It's not just because, first and foremost, I love the community and the people, and secondarily because I love the computer, but also because the experience, like I know what I'm going to get and I know it's going to be awesome. And certainly there are some bumps and hurdles and obstacles along the way, but in general, like what's the quote? The long arm of the galaxy or the universe bends towards justice. Like the long arm of Kansas Fest bends toward the Apple II, and there may be some hiccups here and there, but the overall vibe is pretty consistent.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for just jumping on here totally unexpectedly and answering some questions. So.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for asking questions that I could answer, because Kansas Fest 1998 was a long time ago, and I've said this before, but one of the reasons I went in '98 is because Ryan Suinaga posted online and said the Apple II was canceled 5 years ago. A conference about the Apple II is not going to last forever. And there was this constant sense that like every year when we left Kansas Fest, we're like, this might have been the last one. Like something like this can't last forever. And realistically, nothing lasts forever. But the fact that we were so wrong is wonderful. I'm still glad I had that sense of impending doom, because I might not have ever gone at all. I would have just kept saying, oh, next year, clearly this event is not dying. It'll be there when I'm ready for it. But then I never would have gotten hooked. And when I left that first Kansas Fest in 1998, after seeing that keynote that we all just saw, I knew that I was going to come back forever.
Awesome.
Cool. Well,
Yeah,
thank
I really
you.
appreciate those stories. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing what stories come out of this year's Kansas Fest. Somebody very kindly put in Discord that all the products Mike sells, or that Mike was talking about in that video, are still available, which is great. He's still a member of the community. He still makes those things available. So just drop in the Classic Rewind channel to find that link. And I also, as soon as I saw his name pop up on the stream tonight, I immediately sent him a message. I was like, you will never guess who the keynote speaker for this year's Kansas Fest is, Mike. So hopefully he enjoyed that as well. And I hope everybody else enjoys this year's Kansas Fest. Thanks for having me.
Ken, I don't want to reveal anything that I shouldn't tell, but we have KFEST planned all the way up to the year before the heat death of the universe.
Excellent.
That last year, there's just too much going on. Sorry, it's so much packing. I got to do like change of address stuff. So it's, we're going to take that year off, but then we'll just pick it up. We'll pick it up after the second Big Bang.
So what you're saying is that everybody needs to show up to that Kansas Fest with their Apple II heat sinks.
Yes. I mean, Zarquan's going to be there. It's going to be awesome.
Love it. Count me in. All right. Thanks all.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Well, it's a good thing I have a system saver on my desk. I'm ready for that. I think it works. But yeah, really appreciate hearing from Ken. I really appreciate the firsthand stories of what it was like to be there, because most of us weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
What else do we have in store?
Well, our next thing up for videos is actually an advertisement.
KFESTA, it's time to break out of your shell.
I'll tell you, big pharma in everything these days.
Yeah, I'm seriously worried about some of those side effects for myself.
I think it mostly affects my pocketbook.
Yes, I realize that many of these products are there from hobbyists. They'll be on the market for a month, a few weeks. When they're out of stock, they never come back again. I remember my first Kansas Fest where someone was trying to sell me, I draw a blank on what it was, but an expansion card. I
Mhm.
figured that's expensive, and then I never saw it again. I can't get it.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a deep impact on the pocketbook.
Oh, yeah. I think part of the issue on that is there's a lot of really cool stuff that people have made over the years that you end up having supply issues, or there'll be that everything is based around this one specific FPGA or something like that, and then that item goes end of life and people are just exhausted. They've got other things going on. They never update the design, and then you kind of get stuck where it's like, but it's an opportunity for other people to pick up and make similar things, and it's a big hobby. I love people, all the fun stuff people have made.
Well, it's funny when I teach a computer history class at Pitt, so I take an Apple II in, and it's amazing, the amount of new hardware for it, hardware that was designed after, 10 years, 15 years after it end of life. And you show that to the young students that are in the class today, and it's like, they're still making hardware for this thing. And I'm like, yep, 50 some years after the Apple II, they're still making hardware for it.
It's funny that we've seen multiple generations of add-on hardware where, I remember, I don't know, I think the CFFA came out around
Yeah.
like 2010 or something like that. And that was 15 years ago, guys. And so there's been a whole new generation of like new storage devices. Although I got to say my 3000 is still a very favorite piece of add-on.
Yep. Hey, one quick note about that audio ad. So if you didn't recognize the voice, that was actually Stephen Wyrick, who was on the KansasFest committee for a long time. He was also a longtime attendee, and he was actually a doctor, or he is a doctor in real life. So hence the kind of medical connection. But he also did a lot of the parody videos that we've seen over the years.
Oh, they are so cool.
Which are awesome. And then I just had to reach around and grab. He's the one who wrote Sophistication and Simplicity, which is a fantastic book about the Apple II. And speaking of Ken Gagney, that book by Stephen is actually available on Ken's juice.gs store.
Very cool.
I think Chris, Steve was responsible for a wonderful history website, which was
Yes.
was the precursor of the book itself, and
Yep.
it's at apple2history.org, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
What's next in our lineup?
What's next is a very interesting video all about, I think it's about, it's either Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer. I can't remember which one. It just, the video file said Mark Twain. I don't know.
A bit off topic, though, don't you think?
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Never the twain shall meet.
Roll it.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Sheppy.
Hey, we're going to take just a break from the video because Sheppy was kind enough to stop by. So we figured this would be of interest, and then we'll cut back to the video here in a little bit.
So how is everybody? I wish I was on my computer instead of my phone because you're all very, very tiny.
Probably better that way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's been a while. I've been sidetracked by life and things, and I'm still tinkering, but I'm not as active as I was. I wish I was.
I
So
remember your
what's up?
presentation from the first year that I came to Kansas Fest, and
Which year was that?
you are the luminary. Well, my first year was 2009, and you've been going for many years
Okay.
prior to that.
Oh yeah. The 93 was my first Kansas Fest.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I drove up with Dean Esme for that one from Shreveport.
Wow. Yeah. Some
Because
of the
we
Apple
had
products were still shipping then.
yeah, we had our big Syndicom meetup before the actual event started that year, so it was a bunch of us there. It was a very busy year. We had a good time. We had a good time at all of them, really. And I'm looking forward to getting back. I keep almost managing to pull off making it, and then not quite getting there. Things have gotten more complicated for me. I've had medical stuff come up that has made it more difficult for me to get places and do stuff. So I have to pick and choose my battles. And unfortunately, family stuff seems to win all the time. Whatever. But yeah, I remember some of those early Kansas Fest. And I remember the presentation that was just being shown there, and Joe always had his way about him, and he was always fun to listen to. I had I had some issues with this particular presentation. It was a little, I thought, heavy-handed in terms of how it handled Apple. Not because I didn't think Apple deserved it, but because they had representatives there, and so I thought maybe it was a little much. But the but every time Joe gave a presentation, it was a feast. I don't know if there's a particular topic people are interested in talking about or hearing about, or just listening to me babble.
Oh, we've got
For a few
questions.
minutes. Fire away. I'm good to go.
So what brought you to Kansas Fest in 1993? Were you there representing a company, selling a product? What was your interest?
I had been wanting to attend one for several years, and I just because I had an interest. And but that year it just worked out that I knew various people who were in a position to kind of drive with me to get up there. I wound up going through Shreveport to Soft Disk, hanging out for a day with Greg Templeman there, helping him finish up his projects for the issue of Soft Disk GS he was working on finishing up. And then he wasn't quite done yet, so I drove up with Dean Esme, and Greg followed up the next day. But I had wanted to go since the first time I heard of them back in '89. In fact, I was at Apple on a contract job working in their quality assurance department for Apple system software, Apple II system software in 1990 when Apple sent people to KansasFest. And I was like, is there any way I can go? And it's like, you're just a contractor, you don't get to go. And so it was, but it was fun to watch everybody trooping off to go to KansasFest and then coming on back. And once I'd been to one, though, I wanted to go to all of them. I didn't make them all, but I wanted to do every single one because I just had so much fun. It was so educational. And of course, my first one or two, I was just somebody attending mostly, and I hadn't really gotten. I had a couple of shareware things out, no big deal. It was not, I wasn't anybody special. I maintain that I'm still not. I'm just some guy who wrote a lot of little programs for the Apple II. But it became like just this ongoing thing of going because, both because I loved it and because it was a great way to kind of kick stuff out the door. Anytime I finished something, it was like, oh, if it's, within 3 months of KansasFest, let's kick it out the door there instead of releasing it now. And it was always fun. And the various code monkeys for the Apple II, we always kind of nudged each other to, hey, if I've got something at KansasFest, if you don't, you're a loser. Kind of game, and we had a lot of fun giving each other a hard time like that, and just the encouraging each other to do something bigger and better than before every year was always really great. And I think that I think we saw that in the types of stuff that came out the door, kinds of software that people put out, and the stuff people produced that we could create some really surprisingly amazing things for this little computer that could.
Is that, Sheppy, is that kind of where Hackfest came from? Like, was that just an evolution of people trying to get stuff done for KansasFest, or?
Yeah, sort of. It was a combination of things. I mean, it was a combination of that, but also I had actually heard of a Hackfest being done at another event, and it was just such a fun sounding idea, and one that I thought that my fellow Apple II programmers, both ones who were regulars and newcomers, could really get behind and have fun with. And I thought that the having a hack event where people are trying to create something fun and interesting that challenged their own skills, whatever their skill level was, and then that included some of the best known and most skilled Apple II programmers, where they could go for help and ask questions and all of that, was just a really great combination of resources. And I think that we got some really interesting new software out of Hackfest over time, where not only were they thrown out, kind of as a hack, but they wound up being cleaned up and finished up and put out the door as real products later on. And I thought, I think that was always one of the things I liked best about it, was that it encouraged people to try to create stuff that they might not have tried to do before.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if you remember any of the kind of the programs that came out of that, like what any that like really stood out.
I it's been so long now that I don't remember all of the ones that actually wound up being like released as products or whatever. But some of the things that I really remember the most are the ones that weren't finished. The Sudoku solver that was only about half done, but it was done by somebody who had never really done anything like that before. Or so not even the winners necessarily, but the ones where people were kind of going for it, and yeah, they didn't make it, but they gave it their best shot, and that always really excited me, was to see somebody push themselves to do something new and interesting. And those were the ones that always got to me, were the ones like that. I always got a kick out of people who used HyperCard to do things that HyperCard shouldn't be used for. I think there was a block editor that was written in HyperCard. That one really blew my mind. That's not something HyperCard should be used for, but sure enough, they pulled it off. Things like that. Just the weird stuff really always got me excited. It was the weird stuff and the stuff that was unexpected.
Cool. All right, and Ken has asked us to ask you about KansasFest with the letter C.
Yeah, we had a year where people tried to make Wi-Fi antennas out of Pringles cans,
Mm-hmm.
and so we called that KansasFest with a C. I do not remember if anybody was successful.
So it actually ended up being KansasFest.
Yeah, I think it may have been. I had forgotten all about that. In fact, it took me a few seconds to remember what it was after you asked me about it.
I had always assumed that the earliest years of Kansas Fest were more like a professional conference where the primary goal was vendors to sell things and people to buy things. But
So
what you're telling me is it wasn't that way.
it was, so it wasn't. So the very first one was the Apple II Developer Conference, which was attached to a more traditional trade show type of event with booths and people selling stuff and all of that. So that was was a conference at there in Kansas City, and then attached to it was like a day or two of the Apple II Developer Conference. The original event, the trade show like event, only lasted a year or two, but the developer conference kind of kept going and became Kansas Fest over time as it kind of expanded into something for everybody, not just programmers. And so 1990, I want to say it was 92 or 93 was kind of the first year it was really broadly opened up to everybody, and from then on it was very similar to what it has been, an event where we had I think the first year I did it was the only year I went where we had like classrooms for sessions and things like that. And we had multiple tracks only the first handful of years of it that I was there. After that, it was like, we could just do a couple more days and just do a single track so everybody can go to anything they want to. And we just liked that better. Yeah.
Are you still in touch with some of the people that you met back then?
Yeah, some. I have a lot of Facebook friends from back then. And, there's people I'm in contact with. I mean, Ken, obviously, he actually is the reason why I got on Genie back then. He was, gosh, what, 14 or 15, and he wrote me a letter, like a snail mail letter saying, hey, you should sign up for Genie because that's where all the cool people are. And I was on America Online primarily back then. And I was like, oh, that's cute, kid. Yeah, whatever. And set the letter aside. And like a year later, I finally signed up for Genie. But yeah, I'm in touch with a few people. Not as many as I would like, which is yet another reason I'm hoping to get back to Kansas Fest, is I know there's a few people from back then who still show up. And maybe not quite all the way back to the early 90s, but I know there's people who I know who are still going. So yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about all the people I haven't seen in 30 years. Oh man. And now I'm thinking about the fact that it's been 30 years. And now I'm thinking I'm old. Anyway.
Cool. Anything else that I don't know you want to talk to us about
Yeah,
Kansas?
I mean, I guess I'll share a little something. I've kind of hinted at some, and I've talked about a little bit in various formats. And it's mostly a personal thing. I mentioned that I've had some health things come up, and between that and the real life stuff that's going on, I've been very slowly working on a new version of the Sweet 16 emulator, and it is taking its sweet time getting done. But I am still working on it. I have it running. I have something that resembles Sweet 16 running on the very latest Mac OS 10 on the M4, my M4 processor, and it's emulating about 560 megahertz of GS ridiculousness. And I'm fairly happy with that. It's mostly user interface stuff that I'm still hooking up because so much has changed that I'm having to redo the entire user interface basically from scratch. And so getting all of the disk management and all of that kind of stuff wired up to user interface is taking time. And I'm never happy with what it looks like. So I do some work on it and then I undo some of the work on it and then I do the work on it again. And it just keeps getting a little closer to what I want. I keep hoping, my original hope had been to have an alpha or a beta in time for this, but that ship sailed a while ago. I'm going to try to get something by the end of the year, but we'll see how it goes. It probably won't feel much like Sweet 16, just user interface wise, because a lot of it won't be done yet, probably when it does come out the door. But it'll be making good progress, and I think having people using it again will kind of help nudge me into making faster headway on it than I've been.
Yeah, and just like you were saying, KansasFest would push people to finish their software. So maybe KansasFest 2026, come back in person and have full version of
full version.
16. Yeah,
that would be a great goal, and I'm going to shoot for that. I don't know if I can promise it, but I'm going to shoot for that.
Cool.
That would be awesome. 2GS running on the M4.
Yeah, it is ridiculously fast. It's really quite something to see. I never thought I would see numbers like those. So, wow.
Anything else?
Nothing comes immediately to mind. I hope that everybody has a good event and lots of interesting stuff happens. I'm looking forward to hearing the scoops.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure. I'm glad I got invited.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheppy. It's been really good to see you again.
Yep.
And some of your old KansasFest videos are out there on our YouTube channel.
Cool.
And
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. All right. Okay. Well, you all take care of yourselves. I am going to go and get some rest because I've had a very, very long day.
All right. Take care.
Take care, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again. I was really fortunate that we had Sheppy join us unexpectedly. He's a wealth of knowledge about the Apple II, particularly the GS, and the history of our hobby and community.
Not to mention Sweet 16, which was freaking awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember when Sweet 16 was released, but it was one of the first, if not the first, 2GS emulator.
And was it Sheppy who ported Castle Wolfenstein 3D?
Yep.
To the 2GS?
Yep, that's right.
Single-handedly,
by the way.
single-handedly building the market for transport. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does work.
Yeah.
Does work beautifully
killer
with the
app.
accelerator.
The killer app for transwarps.
Yeah. I was asking Sean the other day. I was like, because I don't have a accelerator in my 2GS, just because it's kind of one of those things. It's like if you're one of those people that would buy an Amiga 500, who knows who those people are? Where it's like you could just basically buy it because everything is aimed at the lowest hardware, and so it's like, yeah, it'd be neat, but it's like, what's the point? And he goes, I don't know. Have you ever opened up a window on the inside GSOS? I'm like, I don't know. That's $700 for. All right. Are we resuming?
Yeah, I think we pick up on Joe's video,
All right.
and then I don't know what else we have coming up after that offhand.
We have a great presentation. It's by some guy. I don't even know if you guys will know who this guy is. That he's got some kind of involvement with something at Apple. I guess we'll see.
It's a good thing we put that one later because I'm sure no one will know the gentleman.
Hey, gang. What I was going to say is our next presentation might be slightly more lively. Do we want to maybe post because there's maybe about 45 minutes left on this, and it is a lot of like very distant shots of this. Do we want to maybe go to our next video, and then we can just provide a link in the chat for anybody that wants to watch what would essentially be part 2 of this? Is that fair?
I think that would be excellent, Ron.
It sounds good. Yeah.
I mean, no offense.
Good idea.
I really think this is a very interesting topic, but I also feel like it's been going on for the whole of my adult life.
Agreed.
Sorry.
It's a real Bilbo, like too much butter or butter spread across too much bread kind of situation
Spread
right now.
thin.
Yes. So
It is insightful to hear how people at the time were looking at the Apple II, looking at the market opportunities, looking at the computers and the evolution. And these are some of the details that don't get written down anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And this presentation is out on the YouTubes. Oh no, I have revealed who our next person might be. It's but he's just some nobody, so it's fine. It's fine. So, well, I know that there was a couple people that need to hop off for dinner and things like that. Jay needed to get moving because time zone differences and things like that. Is there anybody else that needs to kind of exit, and then we'll play the video, and then are we going to come back for a wrap up, or is this going to be the wrap up here?
I think this should be the wrap up. Keep getting pretty late, and we'll have a early start tomorrow. And tomorrow is packed.
Yes.
Peter, can you remind us when we start tomorrow and what's at the top?
Yeah, so we start tomorrow at, making sure I get the time zones right, I believe it's 8:45, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, we start tomorrow at 8:45. We'll do a brief kickoff, pretty similar to what you saw today. Then we'll drop into the presentations. Our first presentation will be a featured speaker, Jeff Mazer. We'll talk about how the Apple II changed his life. Then we'll move on to other topics. We have a presentation from Jay Graham about the Blue SCSI. We have the Dealer Day display from Petard. We heard a bit about that earlier. We also have others. We have a TangyPack presentation. We hear the Chuck Morrow interview. We hear the first part of our Dan Brickley interview, more about the Apple IIc, double high res, the Apple II TS emulator, Douglas Engelbart, and then Packet Radio. And that goes most of the day. We wrap up tomorrow with the Apple II Forever Awards, and then we'll do it again Sunday.
Cool.
Take a look at the schedule.
I'm excited.
People should expect to get an email tomorrow morning with the link, right, for tomorrow's stream?
Yes, there will be a new link every day. You'll get an email first thing in the morning with the updated link. There was also an email sent out earlier this week with all the links, but if you don't get it, DM me or anybody on Discord, email me, and we'll make sure you get taken care of. We will do our best to stick to the schedule, so if there's something you really want to make, it should start on time.
Cool. And that's 8:45 Central Time.
Yes.
Correct. 8:45 Central Time. All of our times are in Central because that's where Kansas City is. At this point, it's arbitrary.
Yep. But don't forget, if you go out and actually look at the map on, or not map, but the schedule on Google, it will localize it for wherever you live. So if you're in Newfoundland and you have one of those half-hour time zones, it'll do all the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to calculate anything. All
Any
right.
other questions about tomorrow?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
It'd be great.
Yep. I think it'll be a good time.
All right. Everybody have a good night. Don't stay up too late doing your Hack Fest unless you want to.
Stay up really late. Make your Hack Fest awesome.
Cool. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
See you in the morning.
All right.
Thank you.
And so what have we got taking us out?
Oh, it's going to be great. That is the Friday night programming block for KansasFest 2025. That was kind of fun. Peter, did you not pay the power bill? What happened?
He's ready for bed.
Oh no.
It's night here.
Well, it's night here too.
I swear I'll turn the light on tomorrow.
Fair enough. Oh gosh. Well, we got an early start tomorrow. We wrapping this up?
Yep. That was great. Thanks, Ron, for shepherding all of this. And
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So.
Hey, the 34 people that are still out there watching, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This was a lot of fun. Thank you to all the people that were hanging out in Discord with all the great conversation and just the weird stories and people just picking people out. They'd be like, oh, wait a minute. Holy crap. That was so-and-so and all that. And thanks for our special guests that stopped by this evening. It was a lot of fun.
All right. See you tomorrow morning.
All right.
Have a good night. Thanks again. Thanks, Ron.